Is only one part of your desire manifesting and you can't figure out why the rest isn't? Do you see some initial results but then they just stop? In this video, I'm going to explain why partial manifestations happen and how to fix them. What's up, superheroes? Welcome back to my channel, the place where we make the impossible possible. I'm Scarlet Grace from Seraph.com. I'm a manifestation coach, and today's video is all about partial or incomplete manifestations, why they happen, and how to fix them. If you're new here and you want to learn how to manifest any desire fast with the law of attraction and Neville Goddard's teachings, then start now by hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you won't miss any video that could change your life. And if you need some extra help or my personal advice for your situation, coaching is available. You'll find the links in the description below. I also have a 21-day course on how to manifest your specific person. So if that's what you're looking for, then click the link in the description to check it out. So today I wanted to talk about partial manifestations, so manifestations that are incomplete. So here's what a partial manifestation is. Let's say, for example, that you are trying to manifest a specific person. Let's say that this is an ex that you want to manifest back. So what you want is to manifest this person back so that you can be together and you can get married. So what many people experience is that they will start the process of manifesting this person back, and things will start changing, and suddenly results will completely stop. So, for example, many of my coaching clients that are manifesting their ex back experience a situation where they haven't been in contact with their specific person for months, and they start the process of manifesting this person. They change their mental diet, they start using an imaginal scene to manifest them back, and out of the blue, their ex will message them. And they will be so happy about it, but the partial part of the manifestation is that this doesn't lead to anything. So either their ex will message them so they can hook up, but they will end up canceling and then they won't message them again. Or they will meet, but it will be clear that they only see them as friends. Or their specific person will actually tell them that I only see you as a friend, or I want us to be friends, or I'm with someone new. And this is a partial manifestation because the beginning, the original thing that happens is the thing you want, part of the thing you want, but it never leads to the end result you want. So many people get really confused when this happens because they don't understand why this is happening. And this is something that used to happen a lot to me in many areas of my life. And it actually took a few years to figure out why this keeps happening and how to fix it. So today I'm going to talk to you about the different reasons why this gets created in your reality and how to fix it. So the number one reason people experience partial manifestations like that, where the manifestation starts but then it stops and it never reaches completion, is when people focus on the middle instead of the end result they want. So if you want to manifest a specific person and you want to get married to that person, this is the end result you want. So if you are to construct an imaginal scene in order to manifest the end result that you want, being married to this person, this scene needs to be something that would happen if and only if your end result had already happened. So if you want to get married to your specific person, you do not imagine being out on a date with them or meeting their parents or even your wedding day, because all those things are not after your manifestation. You imagine a scene that implies that your manifestation has already happened. So for marriage, for example, you can imagine that you are returning from your honeymoon, or you can imagine that it is your one year anniversary, because those things are after your manifestation. Or you can imagine any scene you want with you and your specific person, but you are both wearing your wedding rings. Because if you're wearing wedding rings, that means that you are already married, right? So those are examples of scenes that are after the end result that you desire has already taken place. And we are doing this to ensure that your end result is guaranteed. If you imagine something before that end result, then anything can happen in between that could ruin that end result. So you don't want to imagine something before that end result. But the mistake many people make is that they want to manifest, for example, their ex back, and the end result they want is marriage. But instead of focusing on that scene, for example, the honeymoon, they focus on manifesting a text message from their specific person. Or they imagine, because it is an ex and probably there is some bad background, some bad blood between them, that their ex comes and apologizes. So they get a partial manifestation because their ex reaches out and maybe they even apologize, but instead of getting back together, then they tell them that, I'm sorry for what I did to you, I'm sorry I hurt you, and I hope that we can be friends from now on. And if this happens to you, you then start wondering, but why? I thought I was manifesting this. It was going well. He messaged me after 6 months that we hadn't spoken to each other. He wanted to meet. He apologized. Why suddenly he says that he wants to be friends with me and nothing more? But that's because you focused on getting an apology. And this is not a guarantee that it will lead to something else. Someone can apologize, but not have feelings for you anymore. So that's why we focus on the end, because if you're already married with this person in your imaginal scene, that implies they apologized and that you forgave them, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be back together again. So don't focus on the apology, because the apology doesn't imply that all the rest of the things you desire are actually going to manifest. The apology is one specific thing, one specific seed that you planted. And when they apologize, this specific seed that you planted, this specific manifestation, has been fully manifested. It has nothing more. If you expect it to lead to something more, then that's just an expectation. This is not part of the seed you planted. Only if you plant a seed that is clearly after the thing you truly want, after your end result, it implies the previous things. An earlier thing, like an apology, doesn't imply that you'll get back together, doesn't imply that you're going to get married, doesn't imply any of those things. Now, the good news is that if you're getting partial manifestations and you realize while watching this video that this is a mistake you've been making, it is a very easy thing to fix. You just construct a new imaginal scene that is after the end result you want, and that's how you manifest the end result you want. Easy, right? So, the other thing that often leads to partial manifestations is this. In order to manifest something, you need to be clear on what you want, and you need to have a mental diet that is very clearly focused on what you want. In other words, you need to have a clear signal. You need to be believing from the end and not wavering back and forth between believing that this is already happening and believing that this will never happen. But many people, especially if you're new to manifesting, many people waver between living from the end and discussing their old story and all the things they don't want. So this looks like this. So you have an imaginal scene and you use it every day and you feel great while you're using it, or you use affirmations and you feel great while you're using your affirmations, but then you will meet with a friend and they're going to ask how things are going with this person if you're speaking with them, or if they have completely disappeared, and you will start talking about how you haven't heard from them in 6 months and they are probably going to be with someone else by now and this is hopeless and things like that. You're rehashing your old story. You're focusing on the old story, not on the things you want to manifest. So what this does is it plants a seed. The imagining sessions and the affirmation and the scripting plant a seed about you two being back together and happy again, but the talking about the old story or the focusing on how things haven't manifested yet, plant a different seed that is about how you're not going to get back together. So in other words, you don't have a clear signal. 50% of your thoughts are geared towards manifesting the end result you want, and the other 50% is geared towards preserving the bad things that you don't want, like not being in contact with this person, or this person probably being with someone else. And that's why you get only a partial manifestation. Because the positive thoughts, the living from the end of the end result you want, manifest the beginning of the manifestation you want, but the negative thoughts, the talking to other people about how things are not progressing and how it's hopeless, manifest things getting worse or remaining neutral the way they are now and not progressing towards anything happier. So both groups of thoughts manifest. One group of thought manifests by bringing you an early result, like a sudden, unexpected message from your specific person, and that's the result of your positive imagining and your scripting and your affirmations. But the other group of thoughts, the talking about the old unwanted story, the things you don't want, also manifest. And they manifest by making this person disappear again and not message you again. So both groups of thoughts manifest because you don't have a clear signal. It's like with radio stations. When you don't get a clear signal and you have two radio stations overlapping, so you hear two songs at once, and obviously you don't enjoy either of them. Well, if you have a clear signal, you only are tuned to one radio station and there's no mixing with other stations. So imagine one group of thoughts, the positive thoughts, the living from the end, the things you do during your imagining session or your affirmations or your scripting as one radio station, and the negative thinking, the looking at reality and wondering, why is my manifestation not here yet? Or looking at something that is not so positive that is happening right now and thinking, why aren't things changing? I started using my affirmations yesterday. Why haven't things changed already? Or the talking with other people about your old story, the negative things and how things are not progressing the way you want. That second group of thoughts is like a second radio station, and those two mix. So what you get is mixed results. Things seem to start happening. Things seem to start moving towards the direction you want, but then they stop because of the second group of thoughts, because of the second negative radio station. So the fix for that is easy. Stop talking about your old story. You don't have to talk about your ex or any other thing you want with anyone. If they ask you, say, I don't want to talk about this right now. Let's talk about something else. And no, if they keep pressuring you to talk about this, then probably they're not your friends. Friends should respect your boundaries. If you don't feel like talking about something, they should be able to accept that and talk with you about something else. So just because someone asks how things are going with your ex, you don't have to answer. You don't have to lie and say we're back together if you're not, and feel that you're being fake and lying to your friends. Tell them, you know what? I don't want to think about this today. Let's do something fun. I don't want to focus on him anymore. I don't want to focus on her anymore, okay? You don't have to discuss that. Stay focused on the thoughts that you want to manifest in your physical reality. Now, you don't have to do this perfectly because most people are not able to control 100% of their thoughts, but the bigger the percentage of positive thoughts and of thoughts geared from living from the end are during your day, the better your results that you're going to get. The clearer the signal. So if you can get to 80% of your day thinking that you're already back together with this person and they love you so much and they have apologized and everything is perfect and you're already married and you enjoy watching TV with your husband every night because you live together now, if that's 80% of your thoughts and only 20% is dedicated to worrying, then you're doing a good job and you will get more of the things you want. If the opposite is true, if 80% of your thoughts are complaining and worrying and talking about the old story, which is what many people do, and only the 20% that is your actual imagining session and scripting is dedicated to the things you want, to living from the end, then you are either not going to get any positive results or you're going to get some small positive results that indicate that things are moving in the right direction, but then those will stop because your negative thoughts and your old story is what you focus the most on. Okay, so this is the second way people mess up their manifestation and it manifests in an incomplete way. They get a partial manifestation. Now, the other thing that happens, the third way people get partial manifestations, is when you have you do have a clear signal, but it is not consistent day after day. So here's why this happens. There is a time lag when it comes to manifesting. So your thoughts usually do not manifest instantly. It may take a few hours from the moment you think something to the moment it happens, or it may take a few days or even a few weeks, and in some cases it may even take a few months for some things. And this is actually a good thing, because imagine if every time you thought something bad or scary about yourself, if it manifested instantly. Imagine if every time you thought, oh, I should be careful not to fall down and break my leg, if you fell down and broke your leg on the spot. That wouldn't be good, right? So that's why there is a time lag between your thoughts and the response from physical reality. Things doesn't manifest physically instantly. But the problem here is that people start positively, so you will hear about those techniques and you will be excited and you will start using them. And you will use them for, say, 3 days. And then nothing will have happened yet in many cases. So you will start thinking, this is not working. So you spend the rest of your time, you spend another 3 days thinking how this is stupid and this is never going to change and this is not working. And then suddenly you start getting positive results. And you look at the positive results and think, wow, I was wrong. This thing is working. And you start thinking positively again. And you start living from the end again for a few days. But then you get negative results. And you say, nah, I was wrong. This is not working. That was just a coincidence. So the problem here is that because of the time lag, the 3 days you spend living from the end planted the seed for wonderful things to happen. Then when you stopped thinking from the end, when you started thinking negatively again and rehashing your old story, the seed you planted the previous 3 days, it was time for it to manifest. And it manifested while you were thinking the negative thoughts. But because you don't remember, you don't realize that there is a time lag between the time you think something and the time it shows up in physical reality, you assumed that it was your negative thoughts that manifested it. So, in other words, you don't see something soon enough, so you start thinking negatively, and then it manifests. And when it manifests, you start thinking positively again. But while you were thinking negatively, you also planted seeds that will also manifest even if you still switch to positive thoughts. That's why sometimes we are all positive and we're doing everything right and negative things happen. Those negative things happen because the seed for those negative things to manifest was planted before you started thinking positively. All you need to do is ignore those things and remind yourself that this is something that your old self created and you don't have to pay any attention to it. You don't have to do anything to fix it. It will just poof and disappear on its own as long as you keep living from the end. You don't have to do anything about it. It's the result of your past thoughts. But people usually get drawn into this thing and look at it and say, look, it's not working because that negative thing happened while I was thinking positively. So this must not be working. And so it goes in a cycle. You think positively, something bad happens, you decide it's not working, you think negatively, then the positive thing from your old thoughts manifests, you start thinking positive again, but then the old negative thing from your old negative thoughts manifests, and you start thinking negatively again, and you never get a complete manifestation because every few days you change the signal. So the solution to this is keep the signal clear and strong day after day, and don't worry about anything negative that pops up. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Okay? This is the solution to this. And the final thing that is not exactly a partial manifestation, but it can be seen like that, it's more of a sign, is when you get something like your manifestation, but not exactly it. So, for example, when it comes to a specific person, this for many people is you begin the process of manifesting a specific person and you start seeing people that look like your specific person. Or you want to bring an ex back and suddenly any other ex you can think of, even from long ago, pops up in your reality. So your high school sweetheart will message you, or your ex from 5 years ago will want to get back together with you. So, and it happens with everyone else, but not with a specific person you want to manifest back. And people wonder what this means. Well, in most cases, this is a sign. A sign means that your manifestation is already set into motion, and if you keep doing what you're doing and focus on living from the end and disregard anything that looks negative or that looks like your manifestation will not happen, if you completely disregard that and keep doing what you're doing, you will get your manifestation. But this thing, especially the thing where all the previous exes come back but not the one you want, confuses many people, and it leads them to think that this is not working and they can get anyone else but this specific person, and they end up messing their own manifestation. So if you're getting that kind of results, like people that look like your specific person or older exes coming back, this is a sign. This means that your manifestation is happening already. You are not seeing the results in the physical world yet, but it's set into motion, and if you keep doing what you're doing, you're gonna get it. So keep doing what you're doing. So those were the main reasons most people get partial manifestations, and now you know how to fix it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then click the like button, share so other people can watch this video and be helped by it too. And if you haven't already, then subscribe and click the bell icon, because I put out new videos every Sunday to help you manifest an amazing life.